All right, today we are going to be doing a battle briefing. This segment is going to be purely about Trustwave and security. So I'm not going to be doing a lot of the talking. I'm going to be having Bear do a lot of the talking today. I'm going to interact just to keep the momentum going. We're going to try to give you as many statistics and unique aspects of Trustwave. Trustwave, for all of you that don't know, is one of our newest providers that entered into the security portfolio. For a lot of reasons, and we'll get into that today. I'm going to just do a few housekeeping things just to get us going. First off, Special Forces Summit, June 10th and 12th. We're anticipating over 750 people attending this summit. This will be, if you've attended Special Forces in the past, if you know anything about AVANT events, this will be our greatest event. We always say that because we're trying to continuously do it better and better, but this will be unlike anything we've ever done before.
Drew, I got a lights out stage for you.
Okay.
It'll be amazing.
All right, Alex says he's got a great stage for me. I did request a round stage and to be in the center of everyone, and supposedly that's what I'm getting, which I'm very excited about. But a lot in this event. It's our 10-year anniversary to boot. We'll be having probably one of the biggest parties of our industry ever. But you'll be able to pick and cater your own training courses. And the goal is for you to fundamentally walk out of there as a different person. So if we don't do that, then we did not do our job. So I cannot challenge you enough to not only attend, but to get as many of your employees to attend as well. It'll only benefit you. And yeah, we're just throwing every single thing that we possibly have into this event. It's going to be held at the Radisson Blu, which is a 5-star, amazing venue, brand new, an icon building here in Chicago, happens to be blue, which is very convenient for us. But just please go to goavant.net/summit to sign up. Again, we only have room for 750 people, so we are anticipating this to oversell. It's only 111 days to go, so it'll be here before you know it. So please go ahead and mark that on your calendars. We'll be here in Chicago and look forward to seeing everyone. Last but not least, last housekeeping, channel partners. So we will be there April 9th through 12th at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Every year we've continuously gone even bigger in our presence at the show. And this year will be the biggest of all time as well.
Absolutely. We're going to have our lounge again that everybody loves to gather there. Because we're such a strong partner with channel partners, we have a special discount code. You use AVANT when you're checking out, and you're going to get free expo passes or discounted tickets. And we will be at the #1 club in Vegas, the Omnia, for our closing party.
So from what I'm being told, we're known for our parties, and supposedly this year we are going to outdo all of our parties combined. So look forward to seeing everyone there. I think we're wrapping the show up. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, on Thursday evening. Yep.
Okay, at the Omnia. But look forward to seeing everyone there. Please go ahead and schedule time with your channel managers to get on our calendars. We'll have about an 8,000 square foot lounge, I believe.
Yeah, and if you want to check out everything that we're doing, we'll of course have our fun night on Wednesday night. We're going to be doing beer pong again. What else? But go to goavant.net/channel-partners, and you'll see everything we're doing.
So we've got Bear in the house today. I think his mom calls him Steven, but we all know him as Bear. And today we're going to be talking about Trustwave, and you know, the thing that gets me the most excited about this is that this is a whole new way of looking at security. Every single person here, that whether you're a security expert or you're new to the game, if you have relationships, then you can sell Trustwave. That's it, bottom line. And I really want to kind of drive some excitement around this. You know, the one thing that I will say, and hopefully we'll demystify that a little bit today, for this changing community that we have of the trusted advisor movement. You hear me routinely say this time and time again. This is the golden era of the trusted advisor. There is no subject matter expert. There's no analyst. There's no equity company. There's no anyone that I've ever talked to that does not agree with us today. Trustwave, This is a brand new vertical for them. They have historically gone other ways through the channel, but predominantly have been a direct company until AVANT came on board, and the indirect explosion has happened. They could not be more thrilled with the traction that we've been able to generate, the pipeline we've been able to generate, the customers that we've been able to generate. And it's really you folks out there that are simply taking enough of these silver bullets, knowing that you have one of the best MSSPs, and we're going to get into that today, in the world at your fingertips to be able to go into any of these accounts, whether they're Fortune 5 account or Fortune 5000 account, and be able to do something that they cannot do on their own. And if you're not thinking security, just open up the paper. Every single day in the press, the amount of visibility around cybersecurity has never been bigger. The threat has never been bigger. And everyone that is under attack are all of your customers today. And so I think Jim just mentioned to me that the global IT spend around managed security is about $125 billion this year. Is that correct?
Right, and they expect the security spend to be about $1 trillion over the next 2 years worldwide.
So a $1 trillion market coming to us, which is probably larger than any other bucket that we have when it comes to all of the hot verticals that we're taking advantage of right now. So Trustwave just happens to be in a leadership position. We're going to get into that today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we can identify. So why don't we start off with Bear, maybe just a quick introduction to yourself. You can take this first slide and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Stephen Bear, with a last name like Bear, just please call me Bear. I am the VP of Systems Engineers for Trustwave. So I've been around the security industry for almost 20 years now, and don't let my boyish good looks fool you. But this is the world we live in, right? So every day it's a new threat, it's a new vector. It's always been an exciting time to be in InfoSec, right? But we watch companies day in and day out, get raked over the coals, right? And we see the numbers of records going up and up and up. We see the security spends going up and up. Are they really the right spends? We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But really and truly, you got to remember that cybercrime happens for a number of reasons. And it often happens from places where it's not illegal, right? And it's a business to someone else, or it's a state-sponsored activity for other countries, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. The average cyber attack is around $4 million, right? And when we think about that, it's a big number, right? But you're going to keep paying for a cyber attack for months to years. By the time all that is added up, it's going to be an expensive endeavor. And then the flip side of that is there is a shortage in the industry to have trained security professionals. It's hard to staff those positions. It's hard to keep those people trained and keep them active when somebody else will lure them away, because everybody has the same problem. Everybody wants more headcount, right? And then that's where MSSPs like us come in to fill that gap.
So a couple things. One, I'd love for you to just break down MSSP, right? And one of the things that I would challenge everybody online here, I have probably seen, I don't know, somewhere 20 or so CIOs come into the battle lab here. We're in the battle lab today with our mission critical red lights on for cybersecurity, Trustwave's new colors. But and I get an opportunity to speak to your clients all the time. And one of the things I love asking majority of the IT folks that come in here, do you have a Sally or a Jim who was a network admin who happens to now be head of security? And I can tell you that almost to 100% everyone says yes. And that's not a problem, that's just a fact of the world that we live in right now, going back to Bear's example that there's a shortage of IT talent. It's not easy to go out and find a subject matter expert just around cybersecurity. But a lot of these companies, they're making really good investments into security, but are they utilizing it? And kind of maybe explain the MSP and the MSSP and how that kind of correlates.
Certainly. So for a lot of organizations, there's probably, what I will start with is maybe a misconception that if I go with an MSSP, I lose total control. And that's not accurate at all. That's not true at all. We start out by monitoring things, right? And we start out by taking the devices that you may have already put a capital spend in and bringing actionable intelligence out of that, right? So you don't always have to throw away your technology either. But your Jimmy and Sally scenario are really irrelevant in that, you know, a lot of organizations struggle with keeping people on staff and maintained, but most organizations will spend, you know, a good amount of money into a technology, not necessarily turn all the features and functions on at the right times to avoid issue and risk, but also Jimmy and Sally get lured away. And when you think about those impactful activities that happen inside those organizations, who's responsible for these things, right? If Jimmy's doing major pieces of your functionality and Jimmy wins the lottery, right, there goes your security program, right? And so when organizations funnel all that down to a core group of individuals, that's also a risk. And this is where MSSPs can come in and say, let us monitor it. And then we'll make Jimmy's life way more impactful because he becomes the do component of a lot of those things, where he now is actionable activity on the client side, where we're telling them, there's an issue, this is a problem, go deal with it.
You're enhancing Jimmy and Sally.
Yes.
I mean, to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
You're keeping them out of the papers. You're keeping their, you know, their investments humming at all cylinders, right? And let's talk about that. I mean, we're talking about like Palo Alto, right? Fortinet, all these devices and equipment that they're usually out there spending CapEx money on, hoping that's going to solve the problem, but doesn't necessarily always do that, right?
Just because you bought it doesn't mean it's going to work right out of the box.
Right.
Yeah.
So the ability to come into an organization, unlike some of the other things that we sell, like a wide area network or a new phone system or such, this is constantly a complementary type of a sale to what somebody already has, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's really important for everybody to understand. This isn't something coming in and ripping and replacing what a client currently has today. It's enhancing that. It's giving the ability of 11 SOCs, I believe, right? Correct? 11 SOCs around the world, the ability to follow the sun, the ability to manage, monitor every CapEx investment, the ability to make recommendations for the future. To me, from an IT perspective, this is more than UCAS and CCAS that I've talked about in the past. This is just a no-brainer. And real quick before I move on, easily digestible from a basic package standpoint to get going. Want to talk a little bit about that?
So we can start with monitoring, right, and just move into management, right? So you can start small, and we'll take those impactful technologies to your organization with the things that could make the most significant decline in risk for an organization and move them into other areas of the business as well. All right.
So you want to talk on this slide? This has got some great stuff.
Yeah, and so, you know, the point of this is there are mature programs out there. There are organizations that spent a lot of money on the right technologies, right, on good technologies, but didn't necessarily turn on all the features and functions that they should have at the right given times. And it is a course of our business, right? And we understand that things need to be turned on a little bit slowly to minimize impact to the business. Right, but a lot of this could have been easily avoided, right, by having the necessary monitoring around certain activities that were going on inside, you know, the myriad of these organizations. These are organizations that are going to have to pay for these records, right, in the grand scheme of things. They're going to have to pay for the breach on the heels of these. And we've seen this happen time and time again. And it's not just you got to pay for credit monitoring, right? There'll be longer-term ripple effects to these breaches.
I love this slide. This is a great slide. Does this build out here at all?
Yeah, just one more.
One more. This is a great slide for everybody to kind of understand where we're looking to get everyone in the life cycle of security. How do you guys break this down?
So most of the clients we deal with are really in that left-hand reactive scenario, in that left-hand column, right? You know, they have a firewall, they have some AV, and they have some other pockets of technology, right? But they all fall into that sort of average world, like, hey, I'm covered, I've got it. Right, but the reality is this is a lot of the Jimmy Sally scenario as well. Who's doing it? How well is it done? How well is it reporting? Is it getting the right actionable data? Right. But every client wants to move up and to the right, which is what we see is our function to alert them, to be ready when incidents happen, to help them tune and be more proactive. Right. A lot of security providers can tell you when something went wrong. We want to tell you how to avoid it altogether.
Right.
We want to prevent it altogether.
I mean, there's few things that we sell that when I say is a true extension of a staff, but Trustwave is that is what we're selling, right? We're selling an experience, expertise. It's like hiring a massive security staff when you bring right, Trustwave on board.
Exactly. And I'll get into our presence and our global presence in a few minutes.
Great.
Exactly.
So let's get into that approach.
Sure. So it starts with those cyber investigations. Our Spider Labs team goes out and they do a ton of investigations a year, right? We also do a ton of pen testing. We do forensic engagements, right, to the tune of around 800 or so or more a year, as well as our research teams. And those are dedicated folks that figure out the how and the what is going on the dark webs and the deep webs, right? And all of that goes into that global threat intelligence, right? And that makes its way back into our products and the products that we monitor and manage for clients.
And so when we think about this too, this, you know, in general, Spider Labs, for instance, Spider Labs to me is an extremely unique, you know, portfolio of people and expertise that we don't have inside of our portfolio today as a trusted advisor. This can be something that can differentiate you. Can you kind of go into a little bit of a depth on Spider Labs?
So these guys are the industry experts, right? And I like to say it affectionately is, when I talk to a Spider Labs guy, they scare me off the internet for a while, right? I want to lose my phone. I want to lose some technology. I want to turn things off. But businesses can't do that, right? But these guys are the best of the best when it comes to reverse engineering malware, when it comes to doing that digital forensic incident response. When you want to know the who and the what and the how did it happen, this is the team that can do it. These are global experts. There are over 250 different individuals around the globe doing this. And we partner with some of the best teams out there doing it, like Palo Alto, for example, is a big partner of ours. They have Unit 42. And their Unit 42 and Spider Labs work together on some different programs and initiatives.
You know, and this is another area just for everybody that's, you know, listening today. I look at Trustwave also as an insurance policy that we should be out there pushing in a major way. For instance, our website at AVANT was DDoS attacked on Friday of last week. I think it took us down for about an hour or so. But, you know, even in our firm, you know, security is a big focus of ours. But when I think about a lot of the firms and when I go out and meet with trusted advisors out there today, how many of the trusted advisors, how many of you have walked in and said, when an incident happens, what is your policy? Where do you turn to? Where do you look for expertise to help? Because, you know, some of you that might be on the line today, I mean, I've heard recent examples just recently of someone getting ransomware and taking down every email inbox for a company for over a week. That can be absolutely out of business for some companies. So who do you turn to? I think a KPI for everybody that's listening today should be getting Trustwave on the phone and understanding how you can walk into every single account that you have a great relationship and get that insurance policy so that at least if an event does occur, they know where to go. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So we call that an incident response retainer. I'll talk a little bit more about that in some detail later on, but the best part about that with us is it's money spent, right? So knock on wood, you don't have an issue. You get to use that on a proactive service to help improve your security posture down the road. So you get through 12 months and you're not having an issue, let's use it proactively. Let's do some other type of engagement, whether that's a tabletop exercise, whether that's training your security team to be better incident responders, whether that is sitting down with your leadership team to really talk about the right programs, right? Is it a proactive breach investigation, right? And if you're about to do a merger and acquisition, let's figure out, well, should we do an analysis of that organization, right? So money spent with us is still money spent with us, but it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, I mean, this is spending time with Trustwave, getting on the phone with them and learning these little silver bullets to be able to go in, feel comfortable about bringing this up in front of your clients. And what we have found, honestly, is every time we introduce you and your teams of sales folks into these accounts, not only are they leading with stuff like this, but we're finding that it's just like, that's a no-brainer. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. And, you know, what we find with a lot of organizations, and don't take no for an answer here, but, you know, when we talk to a company and says, well, we already have incident response. Well, get to, right? What happens when something major happens and that company that you're partnered with is already down the rabbit hole with their 5 biggest clients and you can't get somebody to come out, right? You've already got this in your back pocket, right? We can work through that.
So talk a little bit about the people, the process, you know, kind of, I'll build this out a little bit. I mean, this is very unique to you guys.
Yeah, so tier 1 and tier 2 are pretty much standard stuff in the information security world, right? So you get someone that gives you an alert, they're doing some analysis, right? These are the actionable items that we know about, right? Tier 3 is really where we shine as an organization, and we can shine for your clients too. Is it when it's something that needs that subject matter expertise, we can reach into that Spire Labs team and get that dedicated guy who knows all about ransomware, for example, right? Or endpoint technologies. How do we isolate that threat, minimize that risk, and then move you along and back to your business?
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to our traditional portfolio of services that we sell, this is different in the fact that having a team of experts be able to educate your account on how just to be better around something that's so mission critical. I mean, you look at the New York Times today and yesterday, and I have to bring it up, but you know, again, it was front page, biggest article, clearly identifying China and Iran have now, you know, quadrupled their resources to essentially going into your accounts, the businesses of the United States, and stealing intellectual property. It is something that I believe is probably happening at a far greater scale than even the press is really alluding to. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. And I don't, it's not going to go away. Again, I mean, this is an operation, or these types of operations kick off from places where it's not illegal, right? It can be started with a very low economic barrier, right? So you can go buy a kit, right? And you can turn that kit into money very quickly, right? Through things like ransomware, hijacking, you name it, right? And then who's left paying the bag, right? So the people that are paying the ransom or the people that are trying to defend that, right? So the return on investment is outrageous. I mean, you saw from our entry slide, right? I mean, over 1,000%. I mean, you launch 5 of those campaigns, you pretty much work for a month of the entire year and you're done. Move on.
Yep.
So it's too attractive, right? And then conversely, we're so focused that as an IT culture on making things fast and pretty that we forget to secure them oftentimes. So organizations that do what we do, we find that, or companies, yeah, you got a great website, it looks fantastic, but that database really didn't need to be connected to the web, right? Or just because you went into the cloud doesn't mean it's secure, right? Amazon's got me covered. That's not really the case, right? So there are security holes in just about anything out there.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's like, you know, you even look at AVANT, for example. I mean, everything is about growth. And I think that is all major enterprises today. And there's really no way for one company to do it all on their own. A good example of that is Marriott, right? I mean, the Marriott, which I would imagine will be one of the largest financial fines ever. I think in the UK, I think it's going to be about 4% of revenue when it's all said and done. But there is a company who bought Starwood years ago. That's where the event happened, inside of Starwood's organization. Here's another company who ultimately probably had a very large IT staff. They also probably thought, hey, we got this. We're good at this. We're subject matter experts. And, you know, Marriott probably would have never even bought or had not bought Starwood for the amount of money that they did had they known. I mean, Yahoo's a great example of this. Yahoo got breached. I think they butchered their sale price by half because of it. This is something that you prevent.
Yeah, this is easily avoidable too. I mean, we call that a threat hunt, right? A proactive threat hunt, right? Test the way a bad guy would. Test the way, you know, things happen in the wild. Don't just do a vulnerability scan and say, okay, we're good, right? Test, you know, realistically. Use the tools that are available. In the cybersecurity world, I believe in this paradigm called possibility probability, right? Give enough the time and energy and money, anything's possible, right? But what happens here is, in the possible, is someone will create a kit, right? You're very good at compromising X, right? So I made a kit and I sold it, and now it's all the more probable that someone's going to buy the kit and use it against you. Right? Yeah, I mean, become that opportunistic target because it's available.
And I'm not trying to, you know, I've been known to be a little bit of a hyper, but I can honestly say this is the product that we could sell to every single organization. We can have a conversation. And there's going to be very few things thrown at you as to say why they cannot move forward with this type of a relationship. The funny thing is that I'm finding, as I'm still challenging myself to bring this up in front of executives, they don't know it exists. They really don't. When they think of security, like Palo is a great example. Well, we got Palo. So we invested millions into Palo. We're good. And then you break down the people behind it, and they're really not, right? I mean, that is an amazing technology, an amazing company. But I want everybody to really understand, this is not the replacement of the traditional security appliances that companies have. This is completely different thinking than that. This is an enhancement to everything that they have and having a great team. Jim?
And even when companies go to the cloud, they think they're protected with AWS or Azure. The companies are still responsible for their data, and their data can be exposed within those environments.
Absolutely, and to that point from the hyperscaler market, you don't hear about AWS getting breached or Google getting breached, particularly themselves, but where you hear about the problems is the actual end users, the handling of the data, the handling of the environments, you know, and I think that is a massive gap around security that you guys can come in and solve for.
And not only that, it's when you move to that infrastructure, right, and especially cloud, when you're paying for cloud as a service, right, and you're paying for infrastructure. We've seen organizations that get compromised within the cloud, and their spend goes from $50,000 a month into S3, Azure, whomever, suddenly go up to almost $1 million a month because they're using all that compute for something else,
right,
some other intended purpose.
Right. So is this built out here?
Yeah, built out. So our global platform, right? So we have SOCs globally, right? Not only do we have our security operations center, right, around the world, we also have partners that will that have worked with us to actually provide service to those clients as well. Right? We have security researchers around the globe, and we also have Spider Labs incident responders on every continent. So when we think about this is global threat intelligence, right? Not only do you get that global presence, but you also get local delivery, right? So if you're a multinational organization and you need boots on the ground in Europe, Australia, wherever, we got you covered.
That's huge, and I want everybody to understand there's very, very few companies on the planet that have the amount of SOCs and people spread out around the globe to be able to serve the large enterprise that is global in nature. And another thing that I found very interesting as I've continued to keep pushing myself into security, some of the most, I was with a software firm, one of the fastest growing software firms on the planet, in and around payroll. Okay, so highly sensitive information and what have you. I was shocked to find that they only had one SOC that was not a 24/7, 365 global SOC. Now here's a global company. Right. Is that the norm?
Unfortunately, it is. Right, and even other.
Fortunately for you.
Yeah, well, we are the anti-norm, right? But even us, our global headquarters is Chicago. We have a fusion center in Chicago, which is probably one of the most high-tech security centers you'll ever visit. So I highly encourage you as you work with your clients and you want to come see our SOC, where we're more than happy to have you in our fusion center. It's a very powerful space. But we're also building another one in Europe. But most MSSPs, 1, 2, just Americas, right? They've got some people that work 24/7. SOC operations is not a glamorous job.
No.
Right? The average lifespan of a person in a SOC is probably about 12 to 18 months tops. Right? They get some skills and they move on to something else. We have that same problem, but we plan for it, right? And these people become our security researchers and incident responders, and we're constantly training and building that into our platform.
You know, and let's talk about that real quick. You know, you're hiring the best of the best because that's where they want to go. They know about Spider Labs. They know about your white hat hackers, your black hat hackers. They know about the growth potential of your company. They're not going to XYZ enterprise, right? Correct? And that's what you're solving. And I think that's the simplification of what we need to get behind. We need to be going out there and saying, you're not going out and hiring the best 20 consultants in Cleveland, Ohio, because they're not coming to work for you. They're going to work for firms like this. And that's an okay thing, right? We're able to come in there and still have them a part of it. And I think collectively too, you know, when you think about it, and I've spoken to some IT folks recently, they're like, you know, and I don't know if I really want to hire that security expert because they're only going to see my problems. They're not going to see collectively what's happening in my vertical or my industry or this region or what have you. You are.
Yes. We see that across the teams. Our teams intercollaborate. Our fusion center is exactly what it sounds like, right? It is a fusion of different technologies, different vendors, different threat streams, if you will, so we can bring that back out into a global threat intelligence.
You know, for everybody that, you know, has been maybe following this industry, this vertical, you know, the amount of attention that we're giving it and how fast it's growing, and the funnels are growing larger and larger. But it's not just us saying this. Gartner, for instance, recently came out and said, listen, the MSSPs are in the pole position to gain more market share than almost anybody else on the planet, and from a security perspective, because they're doing things that, quite frankly, no one else has the ability to do. There will be a lot of technology that's going to come out around security, but again, it comes down to the people, the eyeballs, getting in front of the screens, the SOCs. That's where you come in, and you're being recognized.
Yeah, we're validated, right? And so every time, you know, we get a industry recognition, right, it just keeps boosting us back up to do more, to do better, right? And so we're constantly evolving, right? Years ago, we were, you know, a handful of SOCs, right? And now look at us. So we'll continue to evolve. We'll continue to do better. And this only helps us find the right talent and the right people that really want to work with us.
Yep. And, you know, one of the things that I want to kind of point out here, too, when you think about being a market leader, a couple of misconceptions I think that a lot of our trusted advisors have, that you only play at the highest level of the biggest accounts. And that is absolutely not the case. Because the biggest accounts, yes, they're absolutely a target. But what we're finding is the mid-enterprise and even the smaller enterprise, they're the ones with the doors open. They're the ones that are having the biggest problems, especially from an IT perspective.
Right. But it also levels that playing field, right, for those guys, right? They might not be able to go out and CapEx.
I love that.
CapEx buy some technology off the shelf, right, or from their distro. But we can. And we can monetize it back down to something that's now an OpEx spend to them that's more palatable. Right, and it's more impactful for that organization.
You can go into a 2 to 5 man IT shop and literally put them on par with some of the most sophisticated companies on the planet when you bring in Trustwave. I think that is something every IT person, you know, one of the things too that I would like to say too is a lot of IT people are like, listen, I'd spend more money on security than I would on anything else. You help show how to do that, correct? Correct. Because compliance is really just a lot of times the one opening up the purse strings. They're like, you know, compliance comes down, then I can go to the board and I can say, I need this $100,000 because we're not going to be compliant. Fine. But there are other areas to open up those purse strings around security, correct?
Right. And the compliance game, when we talk about compliance a lot with your agents too, it is the entry point for a lot of organizations. And people have this notion of, if I'm compliant, I'm secure. And that's not the case. Compliance is not security. And security is sometimes not necessarily compliant. But it is actionable and measurable back to a board, right, or a treasury unit to say, if I don't have this measure of compliance, I will be fined. This will happen. And that is a journey that some organizations get to. And it's a start, right? But also realize what it is. It is the floor, not the ceiling for a mature program.
Yep.
You got to start somewhere. But we can come in and we can do an analysis. And even before you buy a technology, let's do an analysis to see if that is the right security spend. Let's do a threat hunt before you go buy a DOP or something that you think you need, but you might have a gaping hole in some other piece of your business that really needs to be solved for.
I mean, I have a hard time believing that you can't go into any enterprise and sell a threat hunting package because every company on the planet wants to know where their holes are. They want to know what they need to do to shore up their, defenses from a cyber perspective, and threat hunting is very inexpensive to do just that. Real quick before we go into this, your competitors that are out there in the market, some recognizable names. Who's the biggest competitor that you have?
Probably Dell SecureWorks, Verizon, IBM.
Okay, so I bring up Dell SecureWorks for a reason, right? There's rumors out there that Dell could be selling off SecureWorks, which doesn't lead to great publicity around a security company. You want to explain the opportunity?
In a financial institution, for example, right? So when a risk board wants to take a look at vendors, right, and they do the due diligence, they see an organization that is one of their partners that is up for sale, they may move in another direction, right? Does that give you the warm and fuzzy that they could be bought by somebody else? Probably not. Right? Is it time to reevaluate some of those contracts? Maybe so. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a different type of a relationship because it's security. So I bring it up just because it's giving some pause out there in the market. And I would say it's probably your biggest competitor. And I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. as being a leader from a analyst perspective, it's an amazing opportunity to be the one to introduce Trustwave in there. You want to talk about the enterprise class?
Sure. So, we look at a lot of technologies, right? And so this may be a barrier to entry for some organizations because they look at, Palo Alto and say, I can't afford it, right? Or it's not within the budget. Oh, we can work on that and build that into an OpEx program, right? But what's great about Trustwave is we're taking all these technologies and adding our own threat intelligence into those streams to make them more powerful than what they are. And then on top of that, these are technologies that organizations will already want to buy. It's already on that security wish list back from our entry slides, right? I want the best of the best. And what we've focused on is, let's take best-of-breed technology with world-class managed services and world-class threat intelligence and build that into one congruent offering that the clients really want to utilize.
One pane of glass, the best experts on the planet, the best teams to respond on the planet. And let's be honest, you can buy all of this stuff, but maybe you get 5% out of all of these amazing companies. Why would you not want to turn it up to 100% to get the most, to have that single pane of glass? And then for all of you too that are not necessarily targeting just CISOs and CIOs, if you are a CEO, you are a board of directors of these companies. Listen, keeping talent in IT is difficult, but if you have a roadmap, if you have a partner that is a long-term partner, no matter how many people come in that door, consistency is everything, right? And that's the key here, is we're providing a consistent platform for companies to have the watchful eye over their cyber business. Good examples. I wanted to make sure that we had some good examples of some wins that are out there so that you can all relate to. I think any good salespeople take recent wins in the marketplace and are able to regurgitate that to their customers. So you want to talk about a few of these?
Sure. So this was one of your agents, as a matter of fact, right? So one of their clients that they spent about 2 years trying to find the right provider. They were with SecureWorks. They weren't happy with the offering from various reasons, right? They were looking for a heightened security posture. They were looking to make another acquisition, right? And as you merge two networks together, one of the things that's absolutely deadly is not doing a threat hunt, right? You don't want to connect two dirty networks, right? So what we were able to do is put together a managed detection response program. They already had some capital spends and QRadar and some other things that we were able to leverage. So no net new investment to them, right? So we're able to take that on and manage that for them. So the net result, right? We had a 6-month sales cycle, right? OpEx was the agent and the partner involved, right? And so we closed in on that deal quickly.
That's great. And I think one of the things that I would like to also just kind of point out when it comes to particular deals like that, it's an introduction to you, right? Mm-hmm. It's an introduction to that firm to Trustwave. Did they come and see you? Did you come and see them?
Jim, you want to elaborate on
that? They actually came to Chicago from the Carolinas, and they spent a day with us at the Fusion Center with our team, and they absolutely loved everything that they saw. And our sales team worked very closely with your agent. It was a great joint effort, and it turned into about $20,000 a month MRR.
And we keep seeing the average MRR around these deals continuously go up, both on the upfront. I think we were just talking about another good example of one that's going to get signed here in the next couple of days, but more of an insurance policy. Right. Is that correct?
Yeah, a small deal for services, but literally a 2-week sales cycle. Their network was down. They needed assistance. It's going to be more services. It's 1-year deal for $28K, so $2,000 plus a month. But it will lead to other things because if we're responsive and we do the excellent job that we should do, they'll entrust us to do other things.
So I have a quick question from the audience. Jen is asking, hey, you said they looked at a ton of providers. What made them decide to go with Trustwave, and how did you shorten that sales cycle?
Sure. A lot of that is coming into our Fusion Center. That is a very powerful experience for organizations. To see a globally recognized company headquartered in the Midwest United States, in Chicago, was a big deal, right? And then seeing how we have that global that global threat intelligence, right? SOCs around the globe, researchers around the globe, feeding all that back into that fusion center and piping that back out. So all of our clients are covered. It was very powerful to them.
And I think one other component is we're a little more flexible. We're 2,000 people strong. We're not the ginormous company of Verizon. It's like turning a battleship for those folks to get something done. We can adapt to what they are looking for. We can write a statement of work specific to them, not having them adapt to us.
Well, I think it also goes to the trend of what we're seeing become a successful partnership, which is companies that are laser focused on one vertical and absolutely going out there and trying to own that. I mean, if you look at Dell SecureWorks, which is a great product, and they've had a long-term legacy. Dell's a massive company. Verizon's a massive company. IBM's a massive company, right? You guys do just this. This is it. And I think that trend is starting to really win over a lot of IT people.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So why don't we go break down this slide too?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, right, it's 24/7 threat monitoring services, right? So 24/7, 365, we never close, right? And that's the beauty of being global, right? We can cover all those bases, right? It's global services, right? But they're delivered locally, right? You deal with somebody in your own language, right? We make sure that all that is covered, right? We tie all those alert streams together, right? So you can get a log from a log from a log from a log and deal with all that, but we tie it all together and make sense of it. All right. So even in what we see a lot of in the cyber world is rogue actors going native, right? So they use the existing technology in the box, your existing underlying technologies, right? It's not brand new malware that's caught by AV or signature-based stuff. They're using the underlying technology against you. We look at all of those paradigms, right? So we correlate all that together. All right, and then we combine that with our global threat intelligence, and that helps us tie that stickiness together, right, of the who and the what and the how and where, and it's all in one pane of glass.
Which is virtually impossible for a company to do on their own. Right? And I think that's the key here. I mean, this is, a lot of times when you're trying to sell something, you're trying to sell something for something that is already existing, and you're trying to replace it because you're better, right? That's what I love about Trustwave and why I feel like this is one of the products that you could literally go out and sell nothing but this and become fabulously wealthy in doing so, because it's something that companies just can't do on their own. I think that's why a lot of analysts are getting behind this and saying, this is where I'm putting my money. This is where the future of the trusted advisor should be helping people understand.
And to that point, if you try to do this on your own, you're buying a lot of point solutions, you're buying SIMs, right? You're spending money, people, time, and energy trying to integrate it all. And as soon as you hone in on one use case, move on to the next one.
Right.
Because that's probably a false positive to begin with, right? So it's not as actionable as you would like it to be.
This is a great slide. We talk about this a lot. I mean, it goes back to where you want to be in the life cycle of security. Sure. Everybody's trying to get to 0 day, probably next to impossible, right? But this is kind of the chart to try to get there.
Yeah. So we talked about we could tell you a lot of alerts happen, but we'd rather help you avoid them. All right. And so we could start with things like managed threat review. We just take a look at your logs. If you want to see if it's really actionable, you want to see how bad the bleeding can be, let's start with that. That can be a very attractive program for your agents to go out and start talking to their clients. Once there's interest, then it's upsell capabilities right into the managed threat detection and then on into managed detection and response, right? All of that is very powerful events, right? And so it mitigates that barrier to entry for a lot of your clients.
I just wanted to throw something in because we talked about the company size a little bit ago. So we can work with small, medium businesses. To the left on this screen, managed threat review, that's an entry point for organizations. Managed threat detection is our Cadillac service. Managed threat review, we will take your logs during the day and an analyst can review it at night. It's an entry point for companies. Maybe it's in the $1,000 to $2,000 a month, and it will have security analysts reviewing what's transpired during the day. So it's not a real-time reaction to it. They'll analyze it, they'll get back to them and make some suggestions.
It's a great way to start to see what do I need to really spend my security budget on. Right.
This is a big differentiator.
Yes.
So let's go into this. This is what ends up, you get that insurance policy and you go in, you do the threat hunting, you you show the single pane of glass, you talk about the managed SOCs around the world, you're augmenting IT staff, but then you take it to a whole nother level. Again, something that none of our trusted advisors have ever been able to sell any of these types of expertise. Dive into this a little bit deeper.
So that Spider Labs team, right, is probably one of the best teams in the business, right? So these are the guys that combine threat intelligence with everything that they're doing out there, right? So we go do a breach investigation for someone, all of that data on the who and the what and the how comes back to us. We go and do pen testing, same thing. All of that goes back into our global threat intelligence. These guys are doing research on the deep web. They spend a good majority of their time doing research as well, figuring out who's doing what, how's it being created, where is it coming from, all right, building all that back into our portfolio. And it's not just our portfolio, it's the 40 other products that we monitor and manage for clients too, right? So we get threat streams and we get events of interest from them as well. And so all that goes back into that richness of data. They're probably one of the best security research firms in the industry today, right? And like I said earlier, they'll scare me off the internet, but we spend time at a conference where one of our cyber security conference, where one of our researchers does a white paper discussion, whether it's DEF CON, Black Hat, you name it, right? It might not be the most riveting, page-turning novel, right? But when you actually digest what happens, you see how an organization gets raked through the coals in a matter of minutes, right? So absolutely unbelievable stuff. All of that goes back into our products, right? All of our breach investigations, all that data comes back to us. We build that back into that protection stream and put that back into our product line.
And just for everybody, it's about just making the introduction, the ability to get in, make an introduction around cyber, talk about, these few facts, and then let the Trustwave teams come in, explain their levels of expertise, explain the types of offerings that they have, and we're just watching it go from there. It's a matter of just bridging the relationships that you currently have with their best people.
It's every industry, it's every vertical, it's government services, you name it. I mean, it is a richness of data, and these guys have the expertise to do it.
Yeah, there's really no vertical or, a program. And one thing that I would want to say too, I'm going to kind of be a little bit of a broken record. You can go off of your normal sales cycle, go after the board of directors, go after the CEOs, go after the owners, go after the people that own businesses that are truly the ones that are maybe not thinking about security in a way that they should be. This is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, more publicity, and it's going to be who's going to get out in front of the right people to introduce a company like Trustwave that ultimately will win. I think the article this week in the New York Times was a great example of that. Listen, the Times and everybody else is saying, you don't even have a clue how big of a problem this is right now. This is a massive, massive problem. No one is, not a threat. Every single company on the planet is a threat. And actually, we're also telling you that the majority of the world is completely unprepared for the type of threat and the type of expertise that state-owned operators are going after the intellectual property of the United States. So you want to go into the incident response too? This is a great example of that.
This is a great entry point for agents, right? So go out and talk to those clients about, hey, get an incident response retainer. Let's work on your program. Let's do a review to see how battle ready you are. A lot of organizations we find, they have a red book, right? This is the book I get out when something bad happens. Go through it. Chances are it's old, right? Chances are Jimmy and Sally don't even work there anymore, and they're responsible for key functions within that paradigm, right? So spend some time with our folks. So these are easy retainers. These are easy things to get started with, right? And again, with our retainers and our other programs, if you don't use it, if you don't have a cyber event, hey, great. Let's use it as a proactive service. Let's do that proactive breach investigation. Let's look for indicators of compromise. Let's clean that up before it becomes a major incident.
I love that. Well, great. Well, we're going to give a couple minutes back to you guys today. Hopefully this was some good tidbits on how to get Trustwave involved in your account. To me, it's the biggest no-brainer in our portfolio right now to bring up security services. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody's looking to figure out ways to maximize their budget, to utilize better resources than they have currently today. But it's an opportunity for everybody here to take advantage of one of the top companies on the globe when it comes to cybersecurity, and to monetize it for your business, to become super sticky, but more importantly, to build a lifetime of a relationship with a service provider that can do something that pretty much none of your companies can do on their own. So with that being said, Jim, thank you for coming in today. Bear, as always, appreciate it.
Thank you.
To everybody listening, thank you for hopping on. Get Trustwave in front of your customers. Let's do some business. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.